A pleasant morning to everyone present here. Today we have gathered here to observe and gain from an insightful webinar on the topic how to plan a startup and its legal and ethical steps. As Mandy Hale quotes, there is nothing more beautiful than a person who goes out of his way to make the life of others beautiful. With that in mind, I take absolute delight in calling upon the student president, Shift 1 of SKPC, Sri Varshini, to start this lovely morning with a beautiful prayer song.
Thank you, Ms. Farheen. I kindly request all the participants and others to kindly mute your audios to avoid during prayer. Thank you. Here follows prayer of SPC.
Shri Mahesh Vasavi Nagareshwari Parameshwari Kamitantamulichi Brahmamu Kanyaka Parameshwari Shri Maheshwari Vasavi Nagareshwari Parameshwari కామితాంతములిచ్చి బ్రోమము కన్యక పరమేశ్వరి దేవదేవి మహేశ్వరి జగదీశ్వరి భువనేశ్వరి కావవేమము ఎల్ల వేళల కన్యక పరమేశ్వరి బాలచంద్రకిరీటధారిణి భవ్య సుందర రూపిణి వైశ్యవంశోభివది పరమేశ్వరి శ్రీ మహేశ్వరి వాసవి నహరేశ్వరి పరమేశ్వరి కామితాంతములిచ్చి బ్రోమము కన్యక పరమేశ్వరి కన్యక పరమేశ్వరి కన్యక పరమేశ్వరి.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, Farheen.
Thank you, Ms. Srivarshini. That was indeed a lovely start to our morning. Now I would like to call upon Sanjana, student member of IIC internship, to deliver the welcome address.
You have to grow from the inside out. None can teach you, none can make you spiritual. There is no other teacher but your own soul, by Swami Vivekananda. Good morning to one and all present here. Heartily welcome to everyone for this webinar. Topic on how to start up legal and ethical steps, organized by IQAC and IIC Sri Kanyaka Parameshwari Arts and Science College for Women. I am here on behalf of management, principal, vice principal, president of IIC, vice president of IIC, staff coordinator of IIC, staff members and student members. It is privilege and pleasant to welcome a resource person, Ms. Nirupama ma'am. Extended my heartily welcome all other partiality members for this event. Last but not least, I welcome all other most cheerful participants for this day. Once again, I welcome for this session. Ms. Nirupama ma'am had 12 years of experience IT and 10 years of entrepreneur experience doing activities from end to end. She had more experience on farming, production and marketing. At last, the session is handed over to Dr. T. Bharani Kumari ma'am, internship coordinator. Thank you, ma'am.
Now I would like to call upon Dr. Bharani Kumari, Head Coordinator of IIC Internship, to introduce our spectacular chief guest.
Thank you, Farheen. Good morning to one and all. A dream becomes a goal when action is taken towards its achievement. Bo Bennett. Here is an achiever, Ms. Nirupama, an engineer turned as entrepreneur, holding 12 years of IT experience and 10 years of entrepreneurial experience during activities from end-to-end farming, production, procurement, and marketing. Madam Nirupama currently heading Aromatic and Medicinal Plants, Gram Mooligai Company Limited. She is an ISB Goldman Sachs certified woman entrepreneur, handles national customers from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, also handles international customers, trained in natural farming of aromatic crops under Padma Shri Subhash Palekar. She holds proficiency in Japanese language. She procures and markets the essential oils and medicinal plants. Ma'am, we SKPC family wishes you to reach more heights and keep on achieving in your career. Thank you all. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. Nirupama ma'am, the floor is all yours. You may take over.
Thank you. Thanks for the wonderful intro. Shall we go for the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I really love addressing youth, and that has been my passion always to guide people, specifically in the entrepreneurship journey. And thanks a lot for the opportunity given, both to the management and to the team which has organized this particular event. I'm really happy to address this youth, and if I can show some light in this path, I'll be really happy. So to start with, am I audible? Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So to start with, so how to plan a startup? Actually, the heading given was how to plan a startup, including the legal and other formalities. But I'm going to just give a very brief intro on the legal and other formalities because that is always available online. And there are many places where we can get those information. And I do not want to waste much of time in going through the same rote information, whatever is there in the internet. So I wish to use this particular time to add value and to just pass on a part of at least my wisdom to enable you people to start your entrepreneurship journey. So this is the place actually this is the understanding with which I'm starting it now. If you people have any other queries, we can always address it offline after the session is over through the communication channel, whichever your management is opening it up. Okay. So what is the game of business? So how do you plan a startup starts with what actually a business is involving, right? To understand like what actually is business. So the game of business starts with many things like what are your goals? What are your business goals? Like, for example, what makes you think that you should start a business, and what you want to achieve with that business, and what are the values which you will carry along with you in the process of doing the business, and what values you want to add to the society. So these are the things actually with which the business idea starts. And there are always challenges and pain points during this journey. The success in business actually is defined by how well you are managing these challenges, how you maneuver yourself through these challenges, and how you are handling it smartly, how efficiently you do that, and how you address the pain points of the society efficiently compared with your competitors, which defines the success always. So the process by which you learn during the journey is very much important. How you learn, how you adapt yourself to these the dynamics of the market, how you learn yourself quickly compared to others. It's not only learning, how you learn quickly, how much market pulse or how much customer pulse you're holding in your hand, which will make you learn quickly and then adapt yourself quickly so that you can get the success. So business in a gist is like what goals you're having and what values you'll be carrying, what challenges you'll be facing, how efficiently you are going through that, and how you're addressing the pain points. So this is the way actually the business goes. So always business is a very interesting kind of a game in which actually like it's like a real-time game which you're going to play. And I think hope you as youths are now used to a lot of games and playing and winning it. So I think you all will enjoy the journey of business, and I hope and pray that all of you get success at the end. So when we start about thinking like what is a startup, how to go about it, there are four types of major things which you have to think upon. Like those are the topics in which you have to think upon and narrow down on a particular business. So why specifically you want to start a business? There are lots of components of this why. So we will go about it later. And what is that you want to achieve, how you are going to do that, and when you are going to do that. So so all these things are going to once when you have answers for all these questions, then it means that you are really set to start a business. So components of why. So when you are going to start a business, what is the first thing which is going to drive you? Maybe after you are graduating or while you are graduating, there are many timelines in which you want to start a business. So the first thing what drives most of us is the better economic prospects compared to 9 to 6 job. Or the next thing is like emotional. For example, somebody had some pain point in their life, which is going to bring in some kind of a conviction that they do not want that to happen to somebody else. So they will have some emotional quotient attached to that business. And based on that, there are many doctors actually who have taken up that profession or as a business because there were not much of medical facilities in their young age or to their families like that. So this is an example what I can give for this emotional attachment. So there are many who have started business based on this particular emotional quotient and better career growth. If you're taking up a job, it's like there are not much of scope for you to grow much beyond a point. So if you are envisaging a growth with which you do not want to curtail yourself, then it's always better to start up a business. Make use of the favorable environment. This is one particular major point which itself will take some 1 hour to explain. This is the time, this is the era where actually there are a lot of favorable things which are happening around, which is nurturing or which is quite timely for any entrepreneur to start a business journey. I will expand on all these points further. And what is the contribution to the society? If you want to contribute to the society somehow, then this is the time, this is the way with which you can contribute back to the society. It's not always seva, or it's not always service, selfless service. Business again is a kind of contribution to the society. And above all, we all actually live to get some mental satisfaction. So once when you give the kind of a best service, the kind of the quality product to the customers, and you are the only one who is meeting it, then that gives great amount of satisfaction, and that will drive your life further. Initially, to start with, even if somebody is starting for the economic prospects, once when they go through the journey, business actually makes people more mature enough to think even socially. And this mental satisfaction is the one which is actually going to drive you in a longer, for a long period of time. And specifically, since I'm addressing the youth here, your age is actually giving a lot more advantage to start with any startup or a business journey than somebody who is in a middle age or in older age of their lifespan. So I will be addressing all these points further. So now we started the components of why. So first is the better economic prospects. So we will expand on it. What is economic why? Actually, nowadays, in the earlier, even if you think about the generation, previous generation, in your during the time period of your father and mother or your relatives, starting a business was not that easy without much investment, because we were not connected that time. It was not a digital era, and getting information, knowing information, getting the contacts, everything was actually a challenge which they had to cross to start a business journey. And including that is the investment, because if you have to travel to get some information, if you have to travel to collect some information, if you have to travel to meet a buyer, meet a prospective buyer or meet a prospective customer, there are many things which actually involved a lot of time and travel. So it means that much of investment should have been there, because you're not able to market your produce unless you put some time and effort and money into that. But nowadays it is not like that. So we always are, nowadays there are many examples which we can give, which I can give now during this session, which did not demand much of investment, and scaling up also is possible, because based on the investment, earlier it was like how much investment you're putting in, only that much you can scale up. But now, because of the digital connectivity, because of the global reach, you will be able to start with very small investment, but have a huge reach, even global reach. So we all wish to break this proportion. That is why actually we want to start a business, right? Like what is the number of hours I work, whether that is proportionate to the amount what we earn. So this is actually the one which makes many people prefer a business over a job. Like, I do not want to just earn the amount which is equivalent to the number of hours worked. So this is actually the one what actually even McDonald's or in many franchisee businesses used to explain to their prospective franchisees, that they should make, the business should earn for them. The complete the man hours of their employees should earn for them, and not the number of hours which of their personal time. So now we had briefed upon the economic why we should start it right now, because economic benefit is one major benefit. If you are not the investment is not coming as a stumbling block, there are a lot of businesses which we can take upon, then that is itself is taking out a major threshold for any youth to start a business, right? So we have just briefed upon the economic why. Now we are going to the emotional why. So this again is a major topic to be discussed upon. Like any business which attaches an emotion to it is always a success. So if you want to make somebody, okay, to make them do something. They will not do it for you. You have to make them understand why they should do it for you. If they have to feel that they have to do it for you, otherwise they will not do, right? So that kind of emotion, if you're attaching to your business. Yesterday, actually, there was a session when one of your students was questioning me that youth needs motivation. So motivation is something what I'm just giving a clue to Farheen and people who are asking about this yesterday, that motivation again can be you can have lots of motivation if you're rooting your idea on an emotion. Okay, by this I don't mean that you should attach your emotions to your business so rigidly that you should not exit the business. There are at times when you have to exit the business quickly, but I'm just telling this based on the concept called emotional why is always a reason why many big businesses have sustained during tough times. So emotions act as best motivation at tough times to carry on. Emotions gives the continuous energy needed to fuel the venture. So for example, business is always not a rosy bed. So there are many times at which we are tested a lot. We are put into the fire. We are always, we have to creatively come out of it. Those are the times at which we will not have much support. So those are the times at which you have to motivate yourself to have that continuous energy to run the mission to reach your goal, right? So those are the times actually, this emotion is the one which is going to give you that continuous fuel of energy. So I'll give you some examples of this emotional why. So if somebody is attaching an emotion to something, for example, there is a fire. If you are asked to jump over the fire and go to the other side of the fire. If somebody is asking you to do that, you will never do that, right? Because you don't know why you should jump on the fire and take a risk and then go to the other side, right? And you don't have a want also. You don't have a want to go to that side, just taking that much of huge risk. But if, for example, you have your pet dog who is on the other side of the fire, waiting for you to go and save him, will you not take that step? You will definitely do a try at least. Even if you don't dare it immediately, you will have that emotion attached. If you have that emotion attached, you will definitely do that. So always in the business, whenever an emotion is attached, then there is a lot of chances for you to succeed. So that emotion again will come once you answer all the 4 parts of narrowing down on the business: why, when, how, and what. So once when you narrow down on the business and you're confident enough that it is going to work and you have the conviction that this business is going to work, then definitely, but automatically you will get this emotion on your business that it is going to work. So environmental why. So what is environmental why? Now, this environment in this era in which you are there, the digital developments which are happening are actually enabling you people with a lot of things. You can do a business without much knowledge on all aspects of the business. Earlier, it wasn't like that. For example, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you how. So the digital developments, no, actually there are e-marketing places right now like Amazon, Flipkart, all kind of e-marketing places, or even B2B e-marketing places are there right now, where you can have a product. Either you can manufacture, either you can source, either you can get it private labeled. There are many ways to have a product in hand. Once when you have the product in hand, you can go to these e-marketing places and then market it for initially in the national domain and later on in the international domain. So this kind of environment was not there earlier. Now this has made many entrepreneurs start sourcing things from many other countries too, and then sell it in Amazon or Flipkart. So this is the very easier way of starting up a business. Even it could be just the trading, or for example, you can just produce maybe you are in a family business, or you have something how to make it very cost efficiently and with a proper quality. You can make it, and you can advertise that you are ready for a private label. Then there are always people who will come and pick up your product and then market it for yourself. So all these kind of connects or contacts initially in the last generation, we were not having such kind of facilities. Now we have lots of domains, lots of portals where these kind of contacts can be obtained in a just of a button. And availability of experts to handle non-core activities. So the kind of delivery services, whatever now Swiggy or Dunzo or many such kind of delivery companies actually are making or really making the life of many entrepreneurs very easy. Because even though you're good at manufacturing something, but delivery was one big headache which they had to take care earlier. But nowadays there are, if you feel that you are good at something, you can always outsource the other activities to somebody else who is actually very much who has got a lot of expertise in that, and they'll be able to do better than us. And it's like you can concentrate on your core activity, leaving the remaining thing to others. So again, for a private laborer, for example, as I told you earlier, we can manufacture some product in a very good, efficient and cost efficient and good quality manner. Then we can always go to a core marketing company who will be able to pick up our products and then market it for themselves. We can keep our margins and then give the product to them. So there are many such kind of experts who are available right now. It's not only these kind of things. There are many things like you can outsource your housekeeping activities. You can outsource many other activities which you do not want to concentrate while you are doing your concentrating on your core business goals. And sourcing has become easier because of the B2B portals. Now, if myself as an entrepreneur or anybody who is actually handling some industrial production or something, so we always are in need of many raw materials. So earlier we had to again go and search for proper suppliers, narrow down on them, and then create some relationships. After some initial trials, then only we'll be able to know whether this supplier is suitable to me or not. But now there are a lot of B2B portals, and it's not even limited to one particular geographic location. You can find out anybody in India who can supply me the packing material what I need, the kind of bottles what I need, the kind of supplies whatever I need. And again, I can select them based on the available rating or based on the feedbacks whatever is already given. There are many such modes which is making sourcing very much easier. There are export opportunities because India is a tropical country. There are a lot of export opportunities because we have a lot of natural produce, and these natural produce can be sourced in the best possible way using these B2B portals. So again, this is made possible because of this digital era. There is no better time than this to convert a business idea to succeed. I think you would have thought about these kind of business models, like how Ola or Uber or any Facebook or Swiggy started and came into existence. It is just an idea, innovative idea, to connect two different sections in the market. One section is, for example, if you take Ola or Uber, people who are not happy with the kind of cab or autowalas demanding a lot of money without putting the meter. On the other side, there were people like the cabs or the autos which needed return journey or wanted continuous customers so that they can make maximum out of their day out. So they just had this innovative idea, just thought about what are all the things they should consider, how they can control this business once when they are connected, and how they can make a win-win proposition to both these people. So most of the these kind of businesses are always operating on a win-win concept. So here actually whatever Ola and or Uber has done, we can do in many areas. So we have to just need an innovative idea, start working on it, develop a small working model, and then start proceeding with that business. So again, if you think Facebook, at least Ola or Uber are at least giving a kind of a tangible service. But Facebook, when they started, they never knew that it is going to get so much of acceptance. It's just that what people had. At least Ola or Uber, the want was actually visible. But here in Facebook, the want itself was not visible. Nobody knew that people would want to share their private photographs or videos or their updates of what they are doing. It is just the want of individuals to share the milestone, the happy milestone, happy times of their families or their achievements through a portal, which has enabled this business. So this is like it's not always a visible sign which we have to look out to start a business. There are always invisible signs. Sometimes that also clicks up. So even YouTube channel was not started with an idea of what the business is going to be. It was started for some other purpose, but later on, once when video of Peter biting, there was the first video which was a child actually biting the finger of his sibling. Then that became a viral. Then the founders itself started thinking in a different line whether this will work out, and then that's how actually YouTube channel became a big hit. So it's like, as a business owner, even if you have some idea while starting a business, you have to always have your eyes or always all the senses open, I should say. It's not only one kind of a sense organ with which you can catch up these signals. With all your senses, you have to see what's happening and dynamically change your course of action so that you can achieve success. There are a lot of government policies now, like Make in India, Stand Up India, or which are in favor of people who want to start business. Only thing, the banks are not geared up fast to achieve them, to implement these policies, or the banks are not actually given that much of what I should say. Actually, they are given directions, but they are not given the proper freedom to implement these according to the speed what the government is envisaging. That I will expand upon it in further slides. Online education for all ages. In order to run your business, actually you have to have that much of knowledge, right? Like where actually anybody wants to start a business, but where they are getting stopped. They are getting stopped because they are doubting whether they have the complete knowledge to start something and then get success, right? So in order to do that, we were actually wanting to learn many things. For example, if I'm narrowing down on a particular hotel business, then I might need a lot of education related to that, at least to prepare myself theoretically to start the practical aspects of it. So there are a lot of online education nowadays for all kind of audiences. Earlier it wasn't like that. All career related or short-term courses or even spiritual education. There are a lot of education which is available using these kind of the common kind of portals like Udemy, Springboard, etc. So this is the environment in which we are. These are the points by which I am telling that we are in a better position to start a business than before. Again, there are service industries like corporate trainings, foreign language trainings, etc. These kind of trainings have become easier because of the digital marketing reach. This is one big tool what we have got, digital marketing. Digital marketing has made our life simpler as an entrepreneur. We can always come up with even a small service and then market it heavily and then market it to a bigger and wider audience so that we can achieve success. And the digital apps actually, or there are a lot of digital apps which are targeting a wider group or a smaller group of consumers. And apps again is a great tool for us to start a service. For example, I'm starting a service. I'm starting a service of supplying milk, and I can develop my own app and then include the people in that particular geographic location, because again, milk cannot be delivered very far off, only that particular location. Earlier, I had to again pick up a phone and then pick up the orders, or it was a cumbersome process where I have to appoint a person to take up the orders, and he might make some mistakes, manual mistakes can come in, and it cannot be always real time. People can only order during the working hours. All those things were there. But right now the apps have made our life simpler like anything, that orders could be always taken upon using these digital apps. And even the invoice can be prepared using these apps. You don't have to do, all these are automated right now. There are a lot of apps where you can take up the orders, do the billing, and then do the invoice also in the same app. So these are how much do you think like digital apps, but developing a digital app would cost you? Not much, right? So digital apps, once you have an idea based on a digital application, that is the easiest and very minimal investment mode to start a business and do a trial on it, and then grow from that particular place. And there are small, even there are a lot of applications like which are targeted for small groups of customers. You don't have to be a, app developer or owner of a particular app, which targets wider audiences like GPay or PTM or something like that. Even small groups of audiences could be your customers. For example, MyGate. MyGate is actually is an app which is developed for addressing the needs of the residential communities. It has some security features with which only the visitors will be allowed. It has a lot of other features with which electricity bill could be paid, maids could be found by the residential community inside the community itself. The whoever is the maid who is coming in, and other kind of services like home cleaning services. Everything actually this MyGate app is having. And this MyGate app is actually promoted amongst the residential communities, and they are getting their revenue out of it. So either you could be an app developer, or you could be a service provider who uses the digital apps, who gives the services through that app. So there are many such opportunities which are available right now. Earlier, this was not possible. And digital marketing, big data, and AI. This itself is a huge topic right now for youth. This big data and artificial intelligence is going to swipe the market like anything. How internet or the computers have pervaded the complete yeah, there is no industry which has not used the internet or a computer right now, which has not used right now. So artificial intelligence is one such thing which has wide application, either it is a chartered accountant or a medical professional or an engineering service company. Any company will be needing artificial intelligence further, because earlier the era was on automation, right? Like when we want to automate something, when we want to do the same kind of operation, we used to do the automation, and then because of that we achieved a lot of productivity. If you want to add a human touch to that automation, then it is artificial intelligence. I'm sure many of you would have gone through this artificial intelligence related information, but this is the time for you people to act on it. You have to equip yourself for artificial intelligence, and big data or digital marketing also is one other big avenue where right now this artificial intelligence is giving big MNCs and corporates the human feedback or the human touch to know a customer better, to service a customer better. In terms of FMCG companies or the consumer durables companies, this is the way it is helping them. Or if it is a hospital, again, what is the feedback, how their patients feel, what their patients need, at what time they need, all these things will be given by this artificial intelligence. So there are many applications which are going to be used by the companies. So this is one particular big opportunity for youth to enter into. Either they can start working on artificial intelligence or a particular niche area, or they can start working on training people. They can equip themselves first and then training people. There are many such opportunities. On digital marketing, again, is like there are a lot of freelancers already who have come up, and there is more need for talents who knows the nitty-gritties of digital marketing using artificial intelligence. And running a venture parallel to the studies or work is also possible right now, just because of this particular environment. Earlier it was like if you have to do some take up some businesses, then you have to leave out your studies. There are many cases of people who have not studied at all because they were pushed to take up businesses because of the situations. But right now it is not so. As students also, you can start a venture, then take a feel of it, and then even study along with that. But it's again, there is a word of caution here. you should think about the all micro level details of the business, whether it needs your time, how much time you can allocate for it, and all those things, and then narrow down on the venture which will suit your timing also, the study time also. And earlier there were actually a lot of middlemen who were earning a lot, who did not add value to the product. Right. For example, there were real estate brokerage or vegetable agents. There are many such examples which we can give. Those middlemen are getting excluded right now, or they are pushed out of this scenario because of this digital era. So there are lots of cases where you shouldn't narrow down on any business where you're just acting as a middleman, where you don't add value to the end product. And even nowadays, actually, more than a service, more than a product, even a unique skill or a knowledge also can be leveraged and could be made into a business venture. And you can see a lot of influencer marketing happening right now, like dietitians or even celebrity cooks or chefs or bodybuilders who have their own website, who have their own credentials put upon their blogs, or they have their own YouTube channels where they claim what actually they mean. And there are a lot of people who also get influenced by them. They follow them upon, and these influencers actually are also earning based on their skill or knowledge, whatever they have honed, and then they are making a business out of it. And also there are opportunities for them to do affiliate marketing, also promoting the products which are related to their area. So these are the ways. There are numerous ways of using the scenario, using the current environment to earn the money or to start your venture. What do I mean by contribution to society? This is one topic which we have to think upon as entrepreneurs. Like, we as responsible citizens or responsible people who are living in the society, that too, an entrepreneur should have a lot of responsibilities, because entrepreneurs are the ones who are defining how the future society is going to be. Why do I tell this? Business is man's continuous search for a better and comfortable living. So whenever somebody wanted, there is some pain point and he wants to solve it, then there is betterment in the life. So always the businesses, whatever earlier generation had done, then it had made our life better and comfortable. Same way, if we have to do that, we have to think about a business which is bringing comfort to the lives of others. Thereby, the next generation will be enjoying the fruits of it. So if that process wasn't done by the earlier generation, how would have been our lives? You have to think about it, and then the kind of responsibility, then we will understand the kind of responsibility what we have to take while starting up a business. Contribution does not always mean selfless free service, as I told you earlier. There are many people who are actually motivated to start selfless services sometimes, but I personally feel that this will not work in a long term, because we again have to go to donate card or somebody else to create a video telling that we are doing such kind of service, and somebody asking always somebody for help. That is not the way to sustain a service. If you're really interested in doing a service, that should be rooted on a model where you can earn some money and then sustain the model, instead of going to somebody and then asking for donations. So you can always start a business rooted on something, and you can have the empathy of running that business by making the model sustainable, by getting making a revenue out of it. For examples, I'll tell you like where I felt this a lot. There are a lot of goshalas which are coming for asking for contributions from individuals, but this is not the way. So actually the goshalas are the ones which are having lot of scope where they can make their business sustainable, because goshalas, I mean to say, the old age cows, or the cows which were injured, or the cows which were the male gender, which is not actually taken care much, or the ones which the goshalas are taking care. Now, due to the organic farming mode, like everybody is asking for organic produce, organic, means there is a lot of awareness nowadays that organic products are the ones which are good for health. These goshalas can always make organic inputs ready and then supply and then earn from it. And there are a lot of other benefits also which can there are a lot of products which can be produced out of the goshalas, and they are really not doing it and then asking for the contribution. So I really urge somebody, who is inclined towards this should make use of that opportunity. And our aim should be not to add our weight to the society, because there are a lot of people. I think only 30% of our population is taxpayer, and whether it is a business, the person who is running a business or a job, the remaining people are actually not paying taxes, and they are adding dead weight to our society. Because if imagine a place where even at least 80% or 70% of our people paying taxes, we would have we will have a lot of more funds for to be allocated for a lot of developments, and that should be our aim. We should never be into the at least the non-tax pay area, or the person who is not working much to add value to the society. So that too, specifically the youth should take up the responsibility of shouldering the society. This I'm not telling in these kind of words. Actually, it's not a very big word. If you do your job, if you do your business properly, then it's like you are shouldering the responsibility. It's not like you have to leave your family, go out and then do something else. Your thinking and actions are guided by a larger strategy. You live big. This is what actually like once when even if you achieve something in a business without having all these thought process in mind, later on, once when you get settled in your life, again there will be a vacuum. You will again search for something big, and this is the place. Business is the place where you can achieve big by having a larger strategy in mind and working towards it. And leadership is taking up the responsibility to make a positive change. Always, like entrepreneurs are always leaders. Only leaders can be entrepreneurs. So you have to lead your team. You have to inspire your team. If you have to inspire your team, you have to be a real leader who can inspire and then make a positive change to the society. So these are the things by which I'm telling that you are going to contribute to the society if you are narrowing down on a business and then doing it successfully. And politics, again, right now, I told about leadership earlier, and politics is having a lot of leaders, but they are not encouraging the people to become better or be responsible. They are encouraging freebies and adding more and more the dead weight. So it's the responsibility of the youth to take this scenario to the other side of the ball. So satisfaction. What satisfaction we will get by running the business ethically and properly. So we demand good quality products at affordable prices, right? For example, COVID vaccination. Nowadays, Bharat Biotech and many other companies are telling that they are increasing the price, that too in an exorbitant manner that people cannot afford for it, right? So are we satisfied as a customer when we hear such a news? We have to think about it. So when we think about it, then we will come to know, really when we feel for it, we will come to know that always we have to give some good quality products which at affordable prices, which again will be a table turner for in the society. Because always like we cannot always afford for, even if it is a good quality product, if it is priced really high, not much of people are going to use it. Not much of people are going to get benefit out of it. So you, as an entrepreneur, we have to think about good quality products at affordable prices, and that is the one which will give a satisfaction as a customer and as an entrepreneur. The journey is in search of producing and consuming the satisfaction leads to greater satisfaction in life. Doing our part, responsibility in the greater role give us the society brings in, like for example, Tata's, there was no need for Tata to donate that much of crores for during the COVID wave, but we have always seen Tata's, and there are many other such concerns. I just gave an example of Tata. There are many such companies which have played responsibly their role and making a lot of change in the society. And once when such companies, like there are many spiritual gurus nowadays nurturing the business owners to have these these kind of orientation in their mind, because they are the ones who are handling the lives of many people. They are the ones who are actually having a greater impact on the society. So once when those people change, it's evident that many people under them will also change and the society also will change. So it should be again the youth who should be motivated to take up such businesses to bring in a change. We have to develop immunity towards, for example, like there is there is always a say which I hear many times, even from a few of my circle, telling that these kind of satisfaction or contribution to the society, this kind of orientation is not at all needed. Only money earning is more than enough. But if you see somebody successful but unethical, then you have to develop an immunity not to orient your mindset towards that, because that never happens in the longer run, only for a short span of time. And if you want to be successful for a longer run, then you have to develop the other qualities. Inclusive growth as a business growth is more important. In this place, I want to, why I'm including this point here is, when you narrow down on a business, never narrow down on something where you are dependent on one particular major company. There are always services where services getting outsourced, and there are smaller companies which are actually doing those, taking up those kind of businesses where they cater only to that particular business or particular company. So those kind of businesses, please never narrow down, because that is all I have seen the scenario, and most of my in most of my network, I have seen the scenario that the big MNCs are eating up the small players. There is no inclusive growth in mind. I'll tell you the examples of such companies. For example, there are many companies which are, because of the muscle they have built with their bulk buying power, because they have bulk buying power. They'll buy in tons, they'll buy in bulk, which makes the supplier's life easy with terms of the volume. But they never pay back in time what they promise, because there is no other supplier who will tell no if this big company is going to approach one other supplier if he doesn't want to pay the earlier supplier. So this is a scenario which has happened. So never ever narrow down on a business which will supply to one particular company. Always narrow down on a business where you always have one other place to sell or another place to do your service apart from that particular company. And also, like, never go to the customer directly. Don't go to the even to the B2B initially, because going to the customer is always better than going to companies, because using this bulk buying power, there is no idea of inclusive growth for many companies. And as a fresh entrepreneur, I do not want you to get stuck in that particular mode. And so what should you do? How you should do your business? How you should do this? What's needed to start and run a business? What are the things which are needed? When you narrow down, I'll tell you. I'm telling time is one particular thing what you should think. The time you can devote for this business based on the gender. For why I'm telling gender here? Initially, now you are youth, you don't have much responsibilities, but after some time, once in a business grows, you will again have your responsibilities, and each gender has their own time constraints coming up in lives. So I myself, as a mother of two, myself as a homemaker, I have my own constraints, what time I can devote for this business. So the business, what I should narrow down upon, should always keep into consideration what is the time I can devote for my business exclusively. Okay. And if it is a man, it is a completely different kind of a scenario, what time they want to devote. And for example, you are a student, you are having your own responsibilities to study. So you are starting up a business. You have to think about what is the time you can devote, and what is that, whether that particular time what you're devoting, will it suit the business what you're taking up. More important is, and this is one aspect whatever I explained you right now. The other aspect is, how much is your worth spending time in that business than on a job? There are many times people who are earning a lot stopped or quit their job and started a business where they do not generate that much of money what they were getting even in the job. So this is one important point to note. Even if something is of lot of passion and interest for you, see the revenue part of it, whether you will be able to generate that much of money out of this business, what I was earning in the job, or if I had taken up job, what money I would have earned, whether this money will be able to generate that much of income at least or more than that. So that, and again, when you start a business, always put your salary also into the costing part of it. Never put only your employee salary, your rent, everything will be calculated. There are many entrepreneurs, even practically I've seen many entrepreneurs who don't calculate this particular cost. Their time and the cost which is involved in that is always important. So that actually you have to think about this when you are thinking about the time aspect of it. And money aspect of it. Money, this is a requirement that has reduced a lot, and starting small is very much possible. As I told you, there are a lot of examples I told you that you can start without much of investment and scale up with the funds from different sources after you have proven your business. What is the money you want to invest and what kind of business you can select out of it. So the next point is, what is the knowledge you need to run the business? It's not only the technical aspects of running a business, or not only the technical aspects of the business. If you are into the production, you might want to know the production process and other steps. That is not the only thing which you have to have. There are many other things which you have to understand while running a business. For example, you are selecting a business and that needs giving credit, that needs collecting it at a later point of time, and how each entity in that particular sector exists. For example, I'm selecting one particular business, okay, and I'm the first and foremost thing I should see is that how many players are there in the same field, how they are existing, whether this is the venture which is giving them the returns, or do they have some other venture which is actually funding for this venture to sustain. There are many such aspects what you have to see to understand what are the players which are there in the industry, how they are earning their revenue, whether it is this particular venture is giving their the revenue, or they are having something else in mind and then running this parallelly so that they earn the revenue in the other part of their business. So all these things, actually, there are many nitty-gritties which you have to think while you are selecting this business. So knowledge on possibility of scalability and expansion further. Say, for example, I'm passionate on one particular organic produce. Let's say, for example, if I narrow down on starting an organic shop and I sell the organic produce from that shop, after one point of time, once when that particular organic shop has reached the maximum potential out of it, the maximum customers I can serve in that area, if I start serving it, then what is my next step? I won't be able to supply for the whole city from that shop. I won't be able to supply for more geographical location, wider geographical location from the shop itself, right? So I have to expand. If I have to expand, what I should do? Based on the same model, if I want to replicate, I can do it in 2-3 places, right? Again, what happens in 2-3 places? Again, I have to shuffle between these places and I have to see how it operates. And sometimes control goes out of hand, that you have to shuttle between these places and your core concentration on one particular shop itself will go off. There are many such kind of scenarios. And if you're starting a cake shop or cake business, how do you distribute amongst the outlets you're going to give? There are many such examples which I can give. While you're scaling up, those things becomes the challenge. And because of that, your venture itself goes to a soup. So you have to think about all these things from a longer perspective, long-term vision you should have while selecting a business, how much it is scalable, how easy it is to scalable, how much controllable it will be if I scale it up further, and how this expansion process is going to happen. So all these things actually you have to consider while selecting a business venture. And knowledge on possible risks. Actually, there are while you are taking up a business, what are the risks which are involved in the business? You will be able to do, at least theoretically, you will be able to tell these are the risks which I'll have to mitigate. And you have to have that particular list in hand. Other than that, where you are rooting your knowledge, right? For example, I'm relying on one particular government organization or a knowledge group, which is giving one particular information that this is going to work. Let me say, in my case, in my example itself, I'll tell you, I'm running essential oil manufacturing. I'm cultivating aromatic crops and then manufacturing essential oils. Initial stage of this particular career, I had to rely on the studies which were done by government organizations and few other knowledge groups to understand if a crop is economically viable. But these government organizations or the knowledge groups are not really equipped with proper practical expertise which can give me all the inputs needed to run the business successfully. So I had a failure there relying on this particular data. So you have to always double check your step ahead by confirming whatever inputs you have got from one source, whether that is really true or not, even if it is from a valid source, and then take your step next to be successful. So these are the things what you should think on the knowledge aspect of it. And there are resources which I'll suggest you to gain more knowledge and how you can go about it. And network. This is one particular important point for an entrepreneur. And this was raised by one of your students yesterday when they asked, and kudos to her because this understanding is really, I was actually acclaimed to see that particular query being raised, because network is not, nowadays people think like how much contacts I have in Facebook, how much contacts I have in one other WhatsApp group or something is going to be counted for this connection. Network is not that. Business network is something where you actually are adding value to the network in which you are present, and you should also expect and get value from that network you are connected to. What I'll explain on it further. For example, I'm in a WhatsApp group. I'm just getting forwards, which is not at all of use of any use for me. Then it is always better to exit that, and that is not a network which is going to add value to you further, because our time again is a limited resource. We have to allocate our time wisely so that we also learn in the process and we also help others learn. So that is the way your business network should be. And there are many places where like there are BNIs, like business network individuals. There is BNIs which are there in many areas in India, and closed interest groups are there, WhatsApp groups are there. You have to find out which WhatsApp group is working really on but this particular goal. You have to find out which closed interest groups are working on this particular goal, and then be a member of it. And you can always go to the expos and conferences and then meet people who are already working on that particular area, and even competitors are the ones whom you can network to, because I myself have a lot of good relationship with my competitors, and even my competitors are actually, I have a close group. It's not like with all competitors I have good relationships. I have relationship with the people who have the same wavelength of mine, because I might get an order and that might not be useful for me, but it will be useful for my competitor. I pass it on to them and they pass it on the same kind of things to me. It's not only order, it's even the knowledge, whatever I gain. For example, it's not, if it is not pertaining to my core business, if it is not a business secret, there are many other things also we learn in the process of running the business, right? So those things actually we can always share with the network and then add value to their business, and they also will help me do the same. So these are the kind of network which you should nurture carefully, because you should be selective, like how you should select your friends, right? So you select your friends according to your wavelength. Similar to that, according to your business wavelength, you have to select your network which will add value. And good networking gives advantage of access to common pool of business wisdom. This is one particular major thing. When you select your network, you should select it according to the wavelength and the kind of business wisdom, whatever they are, because at least as youth, you won't have much of access to experienced people in the business, but at least you will have access to people who are really interested in business like you. They will also be in a learning curve and you will also be in a learning curve. So each of everyone can add value to each other, and there is no I don't think there any competition or something can come in, and there is always business secrets. For example, you find out something which is really having a lot of potential and you do not want to share. that is fine, but you can share the other things, whatever will be useful for others. So be careful. Network is again human. Selecting your network and carefully accessing it. As I told you, like how you carefully select your friends, you have to select your network and how you can build upon it. There are a lot of advantages when you network. You get to know many things because you cannot be always present in every place to understand how a market works. The kind of people who are in the network will be able to tell you many things, and you should, and there is one particular thing I have seen in fresh entrepreneurs and mostly in the ladies. We ladies are always givers, natural givers. We don't take much. But when you become an entrepreneur, you should always dare to ask. You should ask for help. You should ask for information. So you don't think twice in asking for help or information, because that is the one which is going to grow you further in your entrepreneurship journey. 1 second. Sorry. So next is the attitude. So as I told you, we have to be a responsible business players who should inspire people, inspire employees, and also work with their moods. Like for example, when we start running a business, it's not only one man show. We anyway will have to depend on our employees. We have to lead a team of people who have to have the same kind of common goal what you have in your business, so that you can work in correlation and grow your business. So what it needs, you have to be a leader. It's not just ordering them, it's like working along with them, having the conviction in your business. Whenever there is they are demotivated, you have to inspire them. Whenever you have to work when they have some challenges, you have to help them mitigate out of it. And there are many times where you have to show empathy and then listen to them to understand what is their problem. If they don't, if they are confused, you have to give them the clarity. So you think upon a role which one person is going to play to do all these things, right? So you have to have a lot of perseverance in your business. You have to have the adaptability to change, and you have to have a healthy competitive mode of mindset. You shouldn't try to ditch some business to grow yourself, and you have to withstand the pressures whatever you are going to get, either it is financial or in the way of crunch of resources and time, or need of more of your time. There are many things which you have to handle further while you are going through the business journey. So it's like you have to take risk, work on it, and then remain positive whatever be the situation in your business, because you are the one who is going to define the culture of your business. So that is quite important, that your attitude is always on the positive side. So attitude to look for, and these are the personal attributes whatever I told you earlier. Now there are many other attitudes which will help you learn more. Attitude to look for the business opportunity in anything and everything is in life. So this is one thing where the innovativeness will come into picture. When you look on any business, any happening in life as a business opportunity, then you are the one who will be the quickest person to know that there is a business opportunity in the market, because that is the way actually many business have come into picture, the one who senses it earlier than others. And doubting every step, what I'm telling is, as I told you, you have to double check from different sources to ensure that whatever assumption you have made on a business is really true or not. And poking more to get clarity. This is one thing what I told you right now. Ask for help, ask more questions. If somebody is asking more questions on one particular thing, it means that he is trying to get clarity on that. And don't it's not always readily available. Even if you ask in the business sector, you have to have that courage to even get a no. But you shouldn't stop asking for questions, stop asking the questions and get more clarity and then move ahead. So if you want to dictate, as I told you, again, you cannot dictate. You have to always work along with your employees. This is one other major attitude which you have to have. Those who maintain the cool and think creatively to maneuver around the challenges are the success today. So to finally tell about the attitude, no business is foolproof. That's what yesterday I was telling. No business is foolproof. It is always dynamic. Market is evolving. People are evolving. Consumers are evolving. So you have to always have the pulse of the consumers and the market in hand, and the challenges will always come, and you have to learn from your mistakes and then grow upon yourself. So market demand. So again, like what are the other things what you have to think while narrowing down on the business? Now we have finalized the attitudes. Now see upon the market demand. What is the market demand which is existing for this particular service what I'm going to give? Either it is a service or it is a product or whatever it is. What is the demand which is existing? Whether the demand is already existing or whether I have to educate the people. For example, Kellogg's, when they started the cornflakes thing, India was not geared up for that. Earlier, in maybe in Western countries, eating cornflakes as a breakfast was there, but in India, Kellogg's had to spend nearly 10 years educating the people about the benefits of having cornflakes in the morning as a breakfast, because there was a strong competition from idli and other Indian food. Okay, because we felt that the taste buds also was not tuned up to eating sweet in the morning. So there were a lot of effort which was needed by this company to cross that learning curve and then market their produce. So as a startup, you cannot afford to do that. So you have to narrow down on a business where there is a ready market available. And what is the and to do this market study, there are many people who depend on the market study reports and other stuff. That is that you can do later on, once when you grow up in your business venture, when you are scaling up big. But initially, for small entrepreneurs, market study is the one what you should do personally. You have to study the pain involved. You have to go directly and then visit the customers, take up some surveys, do the product research, how and give it to your closed group, your known group, get their open feedbacks, assess on it, and all these things are the ones which will give you better control over the assumptions what you make on the market demand. So market study is something which initially you have to do by yourself, and you can take help of some small digital marketing companies. Nowadays they are giving small market studies for us when we are having the product ready, and that is also a cost effective mode of doing some market study for us. And analyzing capacity while selecting the business. That's with all these things whatever I tell you right now, there are most of the businesses to look at first just by figures are misleading. For example, I have an idea. Okay, anyway I will select an idea only when it is of interest to me. So once when it is of interest to me, I will always have a thought process that it is going to work. That is a gut feeling that will not work. So you have to again work on it step by step, split that particular business model. For example, you start thinking one particular business. This is what I'm going to do. The best way is to break it up into final micro level detail. Okay, and then put a chart and then see at what stage if a risk can come in. For example, as I told you, I'll tell you if I want to start a milk supply to a nearby geographical locations, then what are the things I have to narrow down. How do I source this milk? For example, there is a farm which is having A2 milk. He can supply to me, right? Okay. And what is the other thing? What time the milk will be delivered to me? How much milk will be delivered to me? How much they are going to take it in return if I'm not able to sell? How I'm going to pick up the orders, how I'm going to deliver, is there any challenge in delivering? All these things, if you do a micro level assessment of the particular business thing, then you yourself will be able to understand whether this is going to work out for you. What is the time needed, how much investment is needed, how you are going to take up the risk of not selling the particular thing, how are you going to value add to the milk which is remaining, how you're going to sell that value added product again. So there are many things which you have to think, and this itself will give you the clarity of whether that particular business model will work it out for you or not. Nobody else will be able to give you this suggestion. It is only you who knows the business better, who wants the business to be run, will be able to narrow down on it. Correlation between these factors is crucial. As I told you, the what's actually whatever what I have listed, no, it should, all the things should come in sync like a gear, so that your business can move on. It's not like if you can allocate time, and if you don't have other resource, then this is not going to work. If you have the analyzing capacity, but you don't have the money to invest, it is not going to work. So it's like everything should come in sync, so that your business can become a success. So you have to think on all these lines. All these whats will help you to narrow down on your business, what you're envisaging, so that you can bring it out into a practically working model. So when is very important. When you are bringing this business to the roles, carefully select the time at which the business comes to the market. For example, I'm bringing up something like ice cream business. When COVID is there, it's not going to work. There are many things which you have to think how the market is right now, whether there will be any inhibition for the customers to use that service, or whether there will be any other kind of risk which will come into picture when I'm bringing this business into the market. That is quite important. So time or phase of your life at which you bring this business to the roles. For example, I'm a lady. I'm sorry, I think I'm exceeding a lot of my time. Is that fine, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, you can proceed.
Yeah. So the time or phase of your life, is again like you might be as a lady. I can tell you my example. I actually was having a small child when I started my business, and I had really tough time, but I had support system, so I was able to run it up. But there might be people who don't have the support system, who will not, means that is at that particular phase of life, if they start, they will not be able to concentrate either on the business or on the family. So again, the time or phase of your life at which you bring this business to roles, and this is where actually you will have advantage as youth, because you don't have much of commitments to meet month on month, in the sense financial commitments to meet month on month, or you don't have again family to look after personally, in the sense your personal time is not much needed in the family, because you're again in the studentship. So these are the advantages what you have if you think upon this time or phase of your life at which you bring this business to roles. And also this is a time for you to make mistakes and learn, because when you don't have much of financial commitments and other kind of physical commitments, this is the time for you to explore much than when you are more settled in your life. And for startups without much money muscle, even a small dynamics in the market will wipe the startup down. So this again, as I told you, you don't have much of money backup or something, and you are starting something in the market, but even a small change in the market will pull you down. So never launch it big. This is what actually I suggest to anybody who comes for a suggestion, but it's again based on your personal conviction. I suggest nobody to start in a big way, because again, business is actually what you learn. You can become successful after only a few ventures. That's what is my understanding and my experience too. So never start by investing big in the business without much of experience in hand. So test always the waters before you take a deep dive. Even a prospective business which has great scope in future but has not picked up momentum, as I told you, is not healthy. For example, there is a lot of scope in renewable energy like solar or wind power, a lot of scope, because energy is the one which is actually very much exhaustible now, and energy is always needed for all kind of automatic equipments, all kind of innovations, whatever we make. So there is always a need for more and more of energy sources, but renewable energy is one such source which has not been explored much, because government, though they are telling about a lot of schemes in renewable energy, I personally saw that the businesses which were started based on the renewable energy like solar energy or something, it has not picked up the momentum, because the government has not put proper in the sense that the pain is not seen right now. Once when in future really the pain is there, then the proper processes will be in place for the entrepreneurs to be successful in that particular venture. So never pick up a thing like if you see always, actually if you see a renewable energy business, the kind of economics, if you work out, it is really good. You can always make profit in it, but it has not picked up momentum. There is no that much of support system in place and processes in place where you can be successful. And this legal aspects of it, now I will tell you the gist of it. You have to register your business according to the government regulations, as you all know. And SMEs can register their business in MSME portal, or now it has been it is called as Udyog Aadhar, whatever you are going to get. And this is all can be done online. No direct visit is needed. Nothing is needed to visit the government employees or something like that. You can always do it online. And there are, I think you all might be knowing, there are many other types of businesses than what is listed here. Major things are proprietorship, partnership, private limited, Hindu undivided family, and cooperatives, and even NGOs are could be listed here. So what makes a difference? You can go through all the criteria, like whatever based on whatever be the type you want to register, you can do that. But what makes a difference? I want to show you what makes a difference, how you should register. Either, for example, I started my business, I can register it as a proprietorship or a private limited. What is the option I should take, right? So that will be one confusion what will be there, because this confusion can be solved by what will be the implications of it. For example, taxation methods and even the costs different for each entity. If it is a proprietorship concern, it is a different way of taxation. If it is a private limited, different way of taxation. And liability wise, for example, there is a loss for the in future. So if it is a proprietorship concern, everything, all the assets will be in his PAN number, in his PAN. Then all the whatever be the this thing, like a liability will be on the business owners, even the individual property. But if it is a private limited concern or a partnership, it is going to be different. And accounting methods and even the accounting motive itself is different for each entity. So in order to get all these, understand all these things, you have to approach an auditor who will be the right person to guide you what will be best after you select your business. So go to an auditor, understand what are the implications, how you should go about it, and then start registering your firm. That will not cost you much also. There are many auditors who do this for very minimal cost, which is not a prohibitive cost. And also the finally the cost of getting membership. Yeah, this is one thing which came as a surprise. When you are going for marketing, or when you are trying to get membership in different organizations for knowledge purpose or for marketing purpose, again there the cost of getting a slot in an expo, or cost of getting a flight ticket for a government funded venture, all these things depends on the type of venture you are. So decide on all these things first, and then finalize on what is the kind of legal framework in which you are going to operate. So how the business process. So as I told you, on whys and wants, if you work on, then you'll be able to narrow down on that particular business and spend. Again, I have given certain points like how you can narrow down on it, and then how to spend time in gathering the data and all those things. And again, on the habits and what are the habits you should develop so that you can be successful. And one other important thing what I want to stress upon is never ever invest on fixed assets once when you are starting up new or fresh, like own building, own vehicle. Nothing is needed. There is always nowadays there are a lot of opportunities for you to have leased services even for the vehicles. The timely lease also is there, like shared lease opportunities are also there for commercial vehicles too. So you can always go for the core activity investment alone, and then never invest on the fixed assets unnecessarily, which will increase the cost of your increase the complete investment needed for to start your business, because you might be needing funds further to sustain your business, but you would have invested on fixed assets. You never would be able to take out those that particular money, and your business might suffer because of less amount of fund in hand. So never invest on fixed assets initially. In the long term, look at how you should grow long term. You should look at in a long term, you should start saving and then creating assets for yourself. It could be fixed assets or consumer assets. What I mean is consumer assets. There are some companies which are marketing now digitally, but which never knew that they have to save those contacts and other details for further loyalty promotion or something like that, and later on realized and then started again from scratch. So any consumer who is coming into your business circle should be recorded, and you should have the data in hand, because now it is completely digital marketing has taken up. Earlier it was not like that. If somebody walks into your private into a physical store, you are not asked for your number or email ID or something, so you will lose control, means you will not have the track of that particular consumer. But in digital marketing, always the consumers data is collected, because we want to track the customer to know his interest, what is his profile, to understand more, to serve them more. So always create your consumer assets. That is very important, which the company should learn now. And create your employee assets. Employee assets, again, as I told you, there are many cases when the employees have to be understood, and clarity has to be given to create these employee assets, because they are the ones who are going to run the show for you. There were business models which never created assets. As you could see, COVID is one particular time at which there were a lot of business learnings for many entrepreneurs. There were many hotel chains which never created their assets of their own, but expanded massively, which got a lot of issues, so that the business was not able to sustain. So that is one thing what you should think in a long term, how you should scale up. And yeah, this is one other thing. I'm just going a bit quick, because I want to complete it as well as possible. And you can, most of the points are actually self-explanatory, and I will share this PPT to ma'am, Bharani ma'am, so that she can forward it to you. And if there is any doubt, you can come back to me. As far as possible, modular, I'm just stressing on the important points, what I would really like to convey. As far as possible, modularize your business journey. And I'll tell you an example of Dr. T. Modularizing your business in the sense, for example, you want to start your a particular product service, and for example, this Dr. T, they wanted to sell tea bags, which was having a lot of herbs which added to that particular tea. What they did, they went to a manufacturer. They started asking to supply tea in bulk. Then again, they went to another person who was having knowledge of herbs and other stuffs. They asked him to invest on the machinery and other stuffs. And when he questioned like how he can invest big, then they told, this is the volume I will be buying from you every month. So they promised a particular volume, and he worked it out. It was a bit okay that he can at least break even by doing this service to him. So that person also agreed. And they started promoting this Dr. T in a lot of channels, and they really made a big money out of it. And the kind of profits they kept were really exorbitant. That is not the scenario what I'm trying to insist here, but it was really exorbitant. Like if the product cost really was 100 rupees, they were selling it for 500, 600 rupees by promoting marketing, giving the health benefits of it and a lot of other things. But what they did, initially they modularized their thing. They never took any risk. They told this person to make tea bags out of the tea what he used to invest and buy from one other tea company, and they just got the promised particular units for this person. That was also not much huge, and they started marketing. But when they grew, more and more of orders started coming in. Then they slowly eliminated this person who was actually manufacturing the tea bags. They eliminated this person because that is one small value addition what he was doing for them. And then they went to the directly to the tea manufacturer. So this is the way you have to work it out, because you have to modularize your business journey, where you have to concentrate first on one particular thing which is of interest to you, which is of confidence to you, which you can definitely do justice to that role, take up that role, and then outsource the remaining activities. And then slowly, when you grow up, when you have the confidence to take up the other modules, then you can take it up. Try to find out a franchisee. Yeah, this is one particular thing where you can start it, but again, there are a lot of risks in it. You have to understand it more. You can take up a franchisee of one in any particular existing business where the franchisee owner has got a very good track record of keeping their franchises in a satisfactory mode of operation and profitable too. So franchisee is one particular model where already the business is set up, already market is there. They want one particular person to manage one particular area. So as an individual fresh entrepreneur, you will not have the challenge of finding the sourcing part of it, finding the market part of it, nothing. They will define all the processes for you, and they will help you also grow, because again, by growing yourself, they are the ones who are going to grow. So you have to select the area. You have to find out if the scope is there for that particular product. That is the only thing what you have to see. Remaining, they will take care and they will groom you up. This is the model in which Pizza Hut or Patanjali or many companies are operating. And you can find out one particular franchisee which they should be able to, they are actually ready to give a franchisee in your area, and then you can start up on it, because that will give you a lot of experience initially without much of risks. But again, the franchisee contract is the one which you should look upon very keenly, not to have any point which is which will put you in problem in future. So just you have to understand again from either by going through a lot of franchisee contracts, or there are franchisee consultants also who will be able to help you identify what is the best franchisee opportunity for you. And as I told you, I have not gone much into the funding of your venture. I'm just giving some resources with which you can understand how you can go for your funding. Funding has always been a stumbling block for startups. Earlier, it was like that, but this is only until the entrepreneur proves the worth of the business with a prospective investor. So prospective investor, in the sense, it could be venture capitalist, it could be angel investor, it could be the bank, whoever it is. If they want to fund your, if they have to fund your venture, then you have to prove your conviction. You have to prove the worth of your business, and you have to prove your trustworthiness to the bank specifically, because otherwise the funding your venture is not possible. And I don't suggest going for venture capitalist funding or angel funding, because again, that involves a lot of huge money coming into your business without much of experience. So experience VCs bring in a lot of experience. What is the advantage of going to venture funding is like VCs are always companies, multiple people who have a lot of experience in the table, who bring a lot of experience to the table, and they are the ones who will be guiding you much in your business journey. But sometimes again, that becomes a risk, because without convincing them, you will not be able to take any tour in your business, because you will not be able to decide on your own conviction. You have to again convince them and then take up the remaining flow of your business. So funding from banks, this is one thing I'll tell you. Like, even if you don't go for VC funding or angel investor funding, you might be wanting to go for at least bank funding. I will tell you the key specific thing which I learned practically in this. Any banker nowadays, it's not like a VC firm or something like that, which has a lot of knowledge on different things. Even VCs actually narrow down on one particular field, or two or three particular fields where they invest, because they will not have knowledge on all kind of ventures. So there is always venture capitalists who work only on an agri area, who work only on an IT related area, like that, because they will have expertise on that kind of businesses. So they will be able to identify if this business will work or not quickly, and they know the risks involved in it. But banks are not equipped like that. It's only the bank manager who has to decide on whether he has to give you the loan or not. So bank manager again will not be having this much of experience in any kind of business venture what you're going to go and explain him. So mostly it's like you have to open a current account, you have to maintain some good relationship with the bank, you have to maintain proper good kind of input and output in your bank statements, and win the trust of the bank manager so that he can fund for your venture. So it's like you have to start, whether you open a business or not, go first finalize on the name of your venture, or you can open a current account once when you have the venture finalized. But don't expect for funding initially. Go to a bank, open a current account, put whatever money you have in hand, and then create transactions, because he might not be knowing whether it is a credible transaction or not. You have to create transaction, take some money, put some money, take some money, put some money. This is the way. It might look really very childish, but that is the way actually it works. Here you have to create a lot of transactions in your bank statement. That is the one which is going to give him the trust that you are the one who is running something credible, and then he will have some trust to start speaking about, at least about the loan, and later on it might even materialize for you. So, and yesterday, actually, I was asked to give some resources to study further. Business case studies is one major thing which will give you a lot of wisdom. Harvard Business Reviews, there are a lot of Harvard Business Reviews and McKinsey reports. Some are available online for free, some you have to buy. But there are books also, and there are a lot of books actually which explains in details this Harvard Business Review. You can try to find out online and then read these case studies, because case studies actually go through any business. For example, Nalli, I think I read a HBR on Nalli, how it actually started expanding itself into right from silk to other women apparels and other stuff. And Fab India, it was a really very good Harvard Business Review which I could read and which gave a lot of insights. So these kind of resources will be available to you once when you become a part of major like business education institutes. But there are also some reviews which you can buy online, or some are available even for free. So you can buy some books related to that, or try to find out some reviews. And the next link is 99 Signals. Actually this is a link what I'm giving for you to go through the shows. Actually this link is giving a lot of shows list, and this show Shark Tank specifically I had seen it. That will give you the complete practical view of how a venture capitalist meeting will be. Yeah, this show is like it's like a serial where one few individual entrepreneurs will be presenting their case or their business to a group of VCs, who will be questioning them, who will be grilling them like anything. Some people will be crying to make the VCs understand about their business. So this will give you an idea like how a VC funding will be, and what are all the questions you should be prepared to, and how you should come up with your business plan so that it is rugged and it looks more evaluated when you go for a VC meeting. So this again will give you a lot of insight into how you should look at a particular business idea itself, with the way these VCs will question them. And the other link is Coursera link is women entrepreneurs for 10,000 women. There is a program called 10,000 Women, which is run by Goldman Sachs. And they have after pre-COVID, actually this was one particular course which only for people who are getting selected after interview and other steps, they had access to this course. But right now they have completely put it free and then kept it open for women entrepreneurs. They can log in into this link and then start getting access to great resources with which they can learn a lot. And there is, once when they complete this course, there is also an opportunity for them to get enrolled into ambassador program, which is not open to all. That again will be based on the turnover what you are making in your entrepreneurship journey. And once when you get selected, again that will give access to lectures by people from ISB Hyderabad, from IIMs, and many entrepreneurs who had success. And there will also be mentors who will be guiding you in your business journey. Personal mentors also will be assigned to give you some guidance on your business journey. So that is a great resource. I request all the women entrepreneurs to go through that. And traditional business communities, if you look at, actually just by looking at the way they operate, you can learn a lot. That is one key thing which I want to put. So I have put that in this resource slide just to remind you always. Look at the Marwaris, Gujaratis, Chettiars and Nadas, whoever has been into business always. So the way they operate, the small things what they do really is going to be a great resource for you to learn. And 12 Angry Men again is a film which shows the dynamics of human behavior and how negotiations happen and how convicted you should be when you are presenting your case. So these are the resources which I can share. And further, I would request your management to assign somebody to collectively pass on the information, whatever I will be able to pass on further. And actually, this is the stage at which I'm finalizing. It's in my thinking process that I would like to start a business incubation center, which will operate for youth specifically. So this has been in my mind. So I would request somebody in your management to discuss with me further to get some information on it. So thanks a lot for this opportunity, and thank you very much. And I think that I have added value to you people, and I have given some wonderful insights so that you can start at least working on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Definitely your ideas regarding the incubation, we will take it to our management and we shall come back to you, ma'am. With the support of IIC, we'll take this to the president, Dr. M.V. Sumati, ma'am, and we shall let you know back, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am.
Dear students and the participants, I kindly request you to switch on your videos for a memorable photograph. If you on, it will be a great helpful for us. Yes, Farheen, you can take over the session.
Thank you, ma'am, for imparting us with so much of valuable information. And I am sure that the aspiring entrepreneurs among both our staff and students must have gotten some great first-hand insight in planning and launching their own startup the proper way sometime soon. So if anybody has any questions, ma'am, are you open to taking questions?
I'm sorry, Farhan. Actually, I had to rush up for a meeting by 12:30, but I exceeded the time. But I can answer you over the email if you can consolidate all the queries and then send it across. Sorry
Okay,
for that.
ma'am. It's okay, ma'am. I'll collect the questions and I'll mail you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, then without any further ado, I would like to call upon Miss Monisha, the staff coordinator of IIC internship, to summarize what we have learned today in the form of a report.
Good afternoon to one and all. Never start a business just for making a money. Start a business to make a difference. IQAC and IIC of SKPC jointly organized Quarter 3 Activity 1 webinar on the topic how to start up and a legal and ethical steps. The webinar executively organized for the faculty, research scholar, student and budding entrepreneur to enable them to understand how to planning a startup ideas and what are the legal and ethical steps involved in it. The resource person, Ms. Nirupama ma'am, she have enlightened moreover of values of the thing, goals and value of a business, contribution and a contribution towards the society and the components involved in a business. How to frame the business frame. For this section, totally 952 participants have registered. Among that, 500 participants attending the section to the Zoom meet and 248 participants attending to the YouTube live stream. Totally 748 participants are participated in this event. Well, I hope so. The webinar is a high opener and more informative, and thank you for your valuable time and information given to us, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
Finally, I would like to call upon Goshika, the student coordinator of IIC, to propose the vote of thanks.
Cultivation of mind should be ultimate aim of human existence by Ambedkar. A graceful and warm morning to our most valuable guests, our worthy teachers, management committee, and most beloved students gathered over here. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of IQAC and IAC of SKPC, first of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Lord Vasavamba who made this event successful. On my behalf, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the Chief Guest, Ms. Nirupama Ma'am, who spared time from a busy schedule to grace the event. Thank you, ma'am. I thank our principal and vice principal and honorable correspondent for their unstained support for this event. My heartfelt thanks to the head of various departments and faculties for their valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement in all our efforts. I thank all for the distinguished invites present here, accepting our invites. Last but not the least, I thank my friends for your cooperation in making this event a resounding successful. Once again, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.